Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second edition of Canal Handball's Handball Hangout in English. We have done a few previous ones over here, and now we are live. Today is Thursday, August 14. Over there in Phoenix, it is 8:30 p.m., and we're starting this new edition of Handball Hangouts. I'm joined today by Camilla Ørberg. She is a Danish player. She currently plays for Phoenix Team Handball Club, and she will tell us her story in handball, her story in sport, and will share with us her experiences in handball. So welcome aboard, and if you have any questions during the hangout, feel free to ask them. You have this app on your left side of the screen. Yes, left. No, right. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if you can, just tell us where you're from and where you're asking from, okay? So Camilla, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Happy to have you with us. And say just hello to our viewers at home.
First of all, thank you for having me, and hi to everybody.
Okay. So Camilla, tell us, how did you first get involved with handball? When was this first contact of you with the sport?
In Denmark, you kind of always played in school, but when I came back from spending time in Spain, my best friend played it in a club. And I thought it was really interesting, and she was always at practice, and that was the only way I could spend time with her. So I thought about starting. And in 2005, I started in the same club. So it's been since 2005 I've played.
Mm-hmm. And you are playing in Denmark, which is known for being one of the most competitive, not only leagues and national teams in the sport of handball. How was this scenario of yours when you started playing? What was the first club that you played for? And if you can tell us a little bit of the league in which you were playing in Denmark.
The first club I played in was KF Kolding, which is today known as KF Kolding Copenhagen. And it's a very competitive club from the very young club, or from the very young teams. So when I started, I believe I was the under 12 group winners, and we were just taught that this was the competitive team, and I was always on the better team, so we had to choose that this was what we wanted to do. And I played there until 2009, where I switched clubs to Fredericia. And that was a club with many traditions and an older club, and not that competitive, but they wanted to be, in the league, and they wanted to be good. So everybody wanted to take it serious.
Mm-hmm. So in these clubs you're playing, were they all in Copenhagen, or were you playing outside in another city in Denmark? Because I've heard that, if I'm not mistaken, clubs like Randers, Viborg, Esbjerg, and Midtjylland, they are from different cities in Denmark, right? So yeah. Which city did you start playing handball?
That was in Kolding. And that's actually KF Kolding Copenhagen is now two clubs that's been put together by the team in Kolding and the team in Copenhagen. And so there's one team in Jutland and one team in Zealand that's just been put together as one. So we play on both on courts, but I started in Kolding, and when I played there, it was only in Kolding.
Okay. And one thing that we are very curious, especially over here, is that, and something that our national team coach, who is Danish, Martin Solbak, he told us that in Denmark everybody knows exactly who are their national team players. and everybody is quite aware of their national league, the national team's whereabouts, and what they are playing at the moment. So, as you were playing handball in your clubs, were you actually following you and the rest of your teammates? Were you actually following the national team? And at that time, were you quite aware who were the players in the national team?
Yes, it's one of the national sports in Denmark. There's handball and there's soccer, which are major in Denmark. So yes, when I started playing, I knew everything about the national teams.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you have your favorites, which you follow in their club teams too, but basically you know everybody. If you're into handball, you know everybody that's on the national team. The country is not that big, so everybody wants to follow them. You know, everybody knows someone that knows someone on the team or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's fun.
And for our viewers, Camilla plays as a goalkeeper, and now I want to get into this subject. As you told me before we go on live, is that you have always played as a goalkeeper, right? I wanted to ask, like, how was it like a choice of yours to play as a goalkeeper, or somebody told you that you could be successful playing as a goalkeeper? Or what was this start in this position in which you play until today?
When I started, my dad was actually a professional goalkeeper in soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, try it out, you know. And at that time when I started, I had asthma,
Mm-hmm.
so I couldn't run that much. And I thought, okay, well, this is a thing I could maybe try out. So I
Mm-hmm.
tried it at a practice, and I was successful at it. So I just stayed in there.
Mm-hmm. And who were and who are, in fact, your idols or your you know the players in which those you have as references in this position? Did you have any idol that in whom you were inspiring to play like him or her?
In the beginning was, of course, Kasper Hvidt, the best Danish goalkeeper that's ever been on the Danish national team.
Hmm.
But as time went by, there was this new goalkeeper that came, Marcus Krivold, and he's shorter and very, very fast, and that was exactly like my playing style. Like I'm short, but I'm faster, so I started seeing him as a really big idol because he could get that far by what he had. You know, he used his speed instead of his body. You know, because goalkeepers are known to be very tall, but he wasn't. So I really looked up to him for that.
All right. And what was the last place in which you played before you moved to United States? And I briefly wanted to talk about this difference in popularities of the sport. And in which place did you last play in Denmark before moving to the United States?
I played in Fredericia, which is a club that was about 30 minutes away from where I live. Um,
Hmm.
I I switched clubs because of the coach we had in calling at that time.
Hmm.
So I thought I would try something new, and you know, I didn't want to spend time or being unhappy in a club and not getting playtime or anything. So I switched up to this club that was 30 minutes away from me, and it's called
Hmm.
Fredericia. And a lot of my friends played there too. Like some of them actually moved with me. So we got a really good team going and really good coaches, and I was really happy there. And that's where I ended my time when I was in Denmark.
And during this time, did you have which competitions did you win? Did you have any trophies or any gold medals or a very like a bronze or a silver medal in which you remember like in a campaign in which you really played your best? Um, in that time?
I remember when I played in Colin back then that we played the semifinals of the champions of Jutland, and we won the gold medal. We won that 3 times.
Hmm.
That was pretty big, and then you go on to the Danish championships, but we never made it that far, so that was sad. But yeah, I remember this one finale which was played in my city, and the the gym we played in was really, really big, and it was packed with people. So that was really fun.
All right.
But I don't have a medal with me.
So then you go to the United States, in which you also kept playing handball. And first of all, was Phoenix the first city in which you arrived and started playing? And you obviously noticed this difference in popularities, in which you came from a country in which handball is huge, and players like Mikkel Hansen are national idols. Then you went to a country in which handball is fairly known. Not a very people know the sport, and but you kept playing anyway, and you met people that were in the sport for the love of the sport, I believe so. What was this change for you between you know between one scenario to the other one? What was this change like?
First of all, I actually thought I would not play handball at all when I came here. I thought, this was not a sport they had over here. But when I came, I just tried to Google it for fun, and I found the Instant Handball Club. And yes, Phoenix was the first city I came to. And I
Hmm.
checked it out, and everybody was really nice, and everybody had played before. They were all from different countries. It was not from the U.S. Like we had two Americans. Um,
Hmm.
so it was very fun to see that so many people getting together from so many countries. And just because,
Hmm.
as you said, the love of the sport can get all these people together is just amazing.
And one thing that we saw, and I'm going to talk about it, is in this documentary that was released in the United States called Home Court by Ben Titobal and Monica Alba. Those I interviewed in the previous Hangout. And they told me the players had to lay out the court in tape because there wasn't a single handball court in New York. What was it like in Phoenix? Did you have like hand courts in which you already made for handball, or did you have to lay out tapes or do some improvisation to start playing handball?
We actually play in a gym that's way smaller than a handball court, first of all. Second of
Hmm.
all, when I came, we didn't even have goals, so we had to tape on the wall. We had to tape the goal, and
Oh.
obviously they didn't have the tape on the floor either, so we had to do that too. So it was like half an hour before every practice, we had to do all this, and you can't really play that well and play, competitively on a court that's not full size.
Hmm.
But we use what we have and we make the best out of it.
Interesting. And did this went on for a long time, or suddenly when organizers knew that you were playing and you were taking it very seriously, they decided to make some changes in the court, or did this kept going on for a long time, like half an hour before each practice you have to show up very early to lay out the tape and paint the goal on the wall? What was it like in uh, during this time that you kept playing?
It went on for like a couple of months, and then we finally could get real goals. Um,
Hmm.
so we still have to tape up the floor, which doesn't take that much time now because we all know how to do it.
Hmm.
But we still have to do that. It's not such a big thing here that they will spend money on doing it, like putting the real tape on the floor for us.
Hmm.
So it's sad, but I hope that in the future it will be bigger and we'll have some real courts here in the US. I know there's a couple, There's one in San Francisco, but you know, it's not enough for people who really want to play the sport and who want to make it big. We need more better courts.
You mentioned that, and which is something that we all have also seen in the film, in which the players from in your team were from different countries. So, what was the communication like between them? Was it all in English, or sometimes people have to help each other out to improve the communication? You know, what was the communication like inside the team? This is a very interesting story. I reckon that I wanted to explore. Like, first of all, what was the communication like within the players?
In Phoenix, it was really good. Everybody could speak English. The problem was the different handball terms. You know, I didn't know the handball terms in English, so it was like, you know, you just show where they should play, and then you get it translated. But that was the only problem we've ever had with people coming. And people have been really good at bringing friends from their represented countries. So sometimes we have to translate for them, and but we've been helping each other out, so it's really good.
All right. And what was the first competition you played with Phoenix Team Handball Club? When was this time in which you put all this practice into the court and start playing?
The first one I went to was in Las Vegas, but it wasn't a sanctioned tournament. It was only like a practice tournament from Las Vegas. And we actually played co-ed because we didn't have enough women. So we got to run for our money because of all the guys that were there, but it was really fun to try out. This next tournament I went to was, I believe it was San Francisco, which was a real tournament that was sanctioned and everything. And that was in San Francisco, as mentioned, and we had the real court. So that was really fun to try it and play against different teams and see how it really was over here. You know, I knew that the level wasn't that good, but now I could see that we'll just get the best out of it, play together, and have fun.
And as we were promoting the Hangouts during the social networks, I believe I saw that you were playing in the national championships. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And you helped your team with the bronze medal, according to your coach. Is this correct? And when was this national championship, in which you helped your team to get a medal out of it? So I believe must have been a very special moment. What was it like?
It was very special. It was in May this year. The first national championships I went to was last year in May too, where we got a sixth place. So this year we got a third place, which was really, really good. We had good players, we really stood up for each other, and we're a really good team. So that's why I think we could make it this far in the end, and you know, all the practices really carried out in the end. So it was fun to experience that success with my team. So I know it was in Reno last year and I was in Reno this year. So it was fun to end up in Nevada. So it was fun to get out of the heat.
And I'm not sure if I was writing about the tournament, but I believe that some of the teams were actually from Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and according to Phoenix, and I also believe that we had some universities also playing. Who are the other teams? So you can have a much better perspective than myself. Who are the other teams that were playing in this national championship? And did you have any moments in which you talked to players from the other teams, getting to know each other?
Okay, we're back. Yeah, it was a lot of different teams from Chicago, New York, Boston, North Carolina. There was a lot of teams. So it's the biggest tournament here in the U.S. every year. where teams come together and try to find the best one, obviously. So it's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And I was lucky to find people from Denmark, and I had one of my friends over here from Denmark playing with our team too. And you just get to meet a lot of people from different countries and from Denmark too. And so it's a lot of fun.
And since then, this tournament happened in May. Uh, Now we're the 14th of August, came into the 15th. Did you actually play in some other tournaments in this time since May? And in what was the practices like ever since? Were you celebrating quite a lot because of this bronze medal?
We celebrated in Reno, yes, but after that we only had a couple of practices, and then we had a summer break, and we actually just started up again from the summer breaks. Me and another girl from Central Flanders and played sandball up there with the New York team and the Washington team, so that was really fun. But that's the only thing we've been doing in this break.
And one of the first things that I have read in the on Twitter, in which it was the first place where I got to know more about handball in the U.S., in which was following the pages on Twitter, in which the Los Angeles team went down to Central America and won the El Salvador Cup, if I'm not mistaken. And you played against many teams from Central America, in which I believe it must have been interesting to see schools from like different schools of handball, and not only playing against them but also win in the tournament, playing for Los Angeles. What was the? Could you please tell us the experience of playing with a new team and then going to Central America, traveling to a place you've probably never been to before, and play a tournament? What was the experience like?
It was very overwhelming. First of all, the team was put together by national team players, players from LA, players from San Francisco. So we were a lot of players from different places. So
Hmm.
that was, the first tryout we had was how we played together as a team when we were from so many different cities and countries. Um, and we had some national team players with us too. So it was interesting to being able to play with all of them, but we really stuck together and did a good job against national teams from Central America. And
Hmm.
their playing style is very similar. Like when you've played against one team, you basically know how all the teams play because they have the same playing style. They're very small and very fast. We're bigger and not that fast, but
Hmm.
we really pulled it off and stuck together to get the trophy.
Hmm. Nice. And one thing that I've always been asked myself, and I also asked to other people, is, in your opinion, Camila, what increases more the awareness of handball in places in which, like United States, it's not very known? Do you think the World Championship can increase awareness of handball, or the Olympics are more effective in that matter? Can you make a comparison between the two?
I don't know. It's a hard question because for being in a club here, you see a lot of activity right after any tournament. Like right when I came, there's just been the Olympics, and
Hmm.
so we had a ton of people coming. And after the World Championship too, there was a lot of people that wanted to try it out. The
Hmm.
problem is people don't stick to it. Um, we're just not enough people to like divide up between the ones that know how to play and the ones that don't know how to play. So
Hmm.
everybody just needs to play together, and that's not a good way of doing it when people have not tried it before. Um, so with that, we need more people to come, obviously, but we also need to catch them way earlier. Like in Europe, you played in schools, you played since you're young.
Mm-hmm.
And over here, there's so many other sports that people want to play, so it's hard to get this sport to really catch on because the kids have something. They have baseball, American football, basketball. There's so many other things they can do, which they grew up with in schools. But
Mm-hmm.
that's how I think we need to really get handball to fit in between all of these. Try to make it in schools and talk about it and really show how it is.
Mm-hmm. So, as we were playing, like I said, it's from the very early age that people start playing. Like I said, in Denmark, people start playing at a very early age. Over here in Brazil, people start playing soccer at 3 or 4 years old. And in the US, it's the same. I believe they play baseball or American football at very early age. I have been told by some clubs, both in England and in the United States, that they're trying the, to uh, to make handball more played in school, uh, in which so children could get to know the sport, get to be interested in sport, and keep playing for a long time. So, in your opinion, is the school sport very crucial for these things to make a sport more popular, more played, more accessible, so they can organize championships? Do you think that school is the basis of this growth?
I think so, yes, because as I said, in Denmark, we just learn it in schools. And when you get older, you just know the basics of handball. Whereas when you come over here, people know the
Hmm.
basics of baseball, basketball, and all the other sports. So if you don't learn the basics when you're very young, it's going to be very hard to learn it once you're older.
Yeah.
So the only way I can see is by really getting it to get into the schools.
Hmm. And we have a question now from one of our viewers, Sabina Toth. Hopefully, I could pronounce it correctly. And she asks, how can you determine the game when players from the national team were playing on the court? Did you feel a difference from playing with the Phoenix team and playing with some players from the national team? She asks.
Yes, it was very different playing with national team players, of course. The national team has just been established in Auburn. They practice together, and
Hmm.
so they're starting their handball now. So I bet it must have been hard for them to get into a whole new team too. So I think we all had this starting anxiety to play with each other, but when once you get to know each other a little better and once you're on the court, it doesn't really matter. You just stick up for each other and you just play. So I think they did a really good job blending in, and it was really fun to have them.
Now, as we were saying, your country is about to host the next World Championship for women's, in which it will take place in December 2015. A specific date and time to be announced, but it's going to be in December 2015 in Denmark. So, have you, from the last campaign in which you had in Serbia in 2013, in which you ended up with the bronze medal, what are your expectations for your national team when you're going to host the next World Championship? Do you believe you're also going to make the semifinals and hopefully a silver or a gold medal?
Of course, we always hope for the gold medal, and that's what we're playing for. But we have to remember Denmark has a really young team right now, and playing on home court can be a really big advantage, but it can be also a disadvantage, as we saw with the guys that played. Just the pressure on such young players can be crucial in the game. We can play really, really well, but also just job totally. So I think it's very hard to say. You know, we just need to stick together, and I hope we can make it. And I think that I know we have such good talent, so I think we can make it.
All right. So one thing that I would like to ask you is that in the United States, they have passed a law in which every single place in which you have sports activities for men, you must have for women. There is a law they have there, and I wish we could have over here because I really miss it. And in Denmark, is there anything like this in which every place where you have men's team playing, you must have a women's team and women's sport in a general aspect? Is it as important or financed or sponsored as the men's sports?
I don't believe we have any sports where there's no women's team or no men's team. I think in every sport there is both a women's and a men's. I don't think there has to be, but I think that's just how it is.
Hmm.
Women's sports are not as well paid or as not as big as men's, and that's in handball too. Like our men's team get way more. I don't know, way more attention I think than the women's have gotten. So it's sad, but still we've had a time where the women's team didn't really show anything. And to get the attention, you know, you have to show something as well. So that's what we're heading
Hmm.
back to. We always had the women's team, but just didn't get as much attention as the men's team always had.
All right. And if you can share with us on the Handball Hangout, what was the uh, from today, like if you look back in your career, what was the best, when you just say the most, I think the best game you have ever played, in which a game you said to yourself right after the game, I really did well and I really make, the game of, my life or something. Can you share with us this experience, this unforgettable game that you played?
It's hard because there's been different times, like, you know, it has different meanings and different, you know, just experiences. So it's really hard for me to distinguish which one is my favorite. Like in El Salvador, it was really fun just because of the whole process, you know, with different players and different teams, national teams and stuff. But also in Denmark, when I played, we had a lot of finalities we played and with a lot of people watching. And every time my parents are there and I do a good job, you know, that's the best feeling in the world. So I can't pick out one game that has been the best. There's been a few.
Over here, the one thing that people say is handball goalkeepers, they tend to be, or they have to be a little crazy because of the high exposure they have for balls traveling at high speeds. So one thing they say is that the handball goalkeeper must be a little bit crazy. And what was it like for you, and how did you manage this fear of having the ball going to your direction and probably hitting you? So did you have to be a little bit crazy to play as a goalkeeper?
I can see why people think we're a little bit crazy. I totally see that, but I've always had really good goalkeeper coaches,
Hmm.
and where they just teach you not to be afraid of the ball, you know, because that's so important when you're a goalie to not be afraid of the ball and don't close your eyes. And
Hmm.
we've just done a lot of drills with practicing that, and that just helped me to become a better player. I've had a few concussions, of course, but that's what comes with it. So I just take that and then try to get better every time.
Hmm. So one of the things that I've meaning to ask you because it's something that I've always admired in athletes, is their natural like goals or their objectives in the sport. If you can share with us, is there any place for, or let's say the Danish national team in which you want to go and you want to be there in a short time or in the medium term? What are your main goals in handball?
With handball, I think coming from Denmark and playing in Denmark, your goal is always to be the best and get on the national team.
Hmm.
But with that, Denmark has a lot of very, very good players in all positions, so the competition is really, really tough.
Hmm.
So you learn from a young age whether you're good enough to actually go this far,
Hmm.
and if you have the commitment to really do it, which me spending 2 years here in the U.S. probably doesn't help my case that much because if I really wanted to be on the Danish national team, I wouldn't have chosen to come here. Um, I would have chosen to stay and practice with good teams and play, on good levels as I could have if I didn't come. So it's about priorities and it's about commitment.
Hmm. Some players are very known for being superstitious, and you have to carry some sort of elements or pieces or like the rabbit toe or something with them to court. Do you have any traditions or like superstitions or something that you must do in a game day?
I was worse when I was younger. I had to do a lot of things like eat specific food before I on the game day and like tie my shoes is right and wearing the same things like the same socks and the same shirt under my shirt and stuff like that. But now I have the same hairpins in my hair, but
Mhm.
now I'm better. I'm getting better at that. I still wear the same socks every time, but that's just that's just something you have to do when you're playing.
All right. And now I want to talk about like a person that I've mentioned in this hangout, which is our national coach Martin Solbak, in which I believe he's uh, obviously we describe him as something like a role model and something for us because of all the things he tell us. Um, and he's going to be in here in São Paulo in 3 weeks to have a course on it in which he will receive uh, coaches and teachers, and he'll tell them the story in the World Championship. You mentioned it before that he wasn't very known in Denmark, but nowadays he's a fairly respected. Like, if you can share with us your perceptions on him, and before he used to be not very known, and nowadays he's fairly respected. What was this change like?
Yeah, it's just that people in Denmark probably knew we had Danish coaches different places, but we didn't know who they were or we didn't know them that well. But then after that tournament where Brazil won everything, everybody got to know who he was, and everybody
Hmm.
really looked up to him because he chose to go out of his way, to move to a different country and to really start handball over there and try to get that women's team to be good.
Hmm.
So everybody just really looked up to him because he did that and he went from his roots, he went away from Denmark.
Hmm.
So it was pretty amazing when you heard that.
Hmm. As well as I believe that in this last World Championship, in the fourth semifinalist, you had three coaches from Denmark.
Yeah.
The other one was Polish. So I believe this was quite of an achievement for you in the most important tournament in the world, or one of the three or two. In the semifinalist in the four teams, you have three coaches from Denmark. So And I've heard that in Spain you must attend a course in order to become a coach. So in Denmark, do you have like a specific courses to become a coach, or like a respected academy in which you must attend to in order to become a coach? Do you have this process in Denmark in order to start coaching handball?
We have courses where you learn how to become a coach, but most of them have played before. They played the sport and then just realized that it wasn't for them, so they wanted to coach instead.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with coaches in Denmark is it's almost as competitive as with the players. There are really good coaches and there are fewer, really good teams. So everybody wants to be on good team and coach.
Mm-hmm.
So the competition is really tough among them too, I believe.
Nice. So, one thing that I would like to ask you now is something that I found quite curious when I was watching the World Championship final over here, in which Norway was playing against France, and Norway ended up beating France and becoming world champion. And one fan told me that if Sweden was there instead of Norway, they would be supporting Sweden, not France, because in Scandinavia they must have this like a partnership or a support from each country. It's something that we do not have over here. If Argentina is playing, we support the other team always. But we never support Argentina, and we don't expect them to support us, especially in football, but in other sports as well. They will never support us as well as we would never support them. So in Scandinavia, do you really have this the support? Like, do you support Sweden or Norway or Finland if they're playing in a national, like a World Championship final?
We support each other, yes, but once we play against each other, it's the worst thing ever. Like, for example, in soccer, Denmark and Sweden are probably the worst enemies on court. So we can be united when we play against other teams, but once we play against each other, there's no mercy.
Yeah. So then the friendship stays far and far away. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Good. You said that you also played a beach handball, and was it in a competitive level to participate in a championship, or something that you were invited to play just for fun?
In Denmark, it was a little more competitive than it was here. Here, you just do it for fun. There are beach tournaments on the East Coast and West Coast, so I got to travel a lot with my team to play beach handball, and we went to Canada one time too to play. So over here, it was just for fun. Get to experience different states and play beach handball at the same time. In Denmark, we have these tournaments where it's competitive, and like clubs from all over Denmark gather to play these tournaments. So it's really fun, but it's competitive.
All right. So now let's see, because we have agreed for you to wear the jersey of your team, which is Phoenix Team Handball Club. If you could please show us a little bit of the jersey and their symbol, so viewers can see who Camilla plays for.
Phoenix Team Handball, normally the logo has color,
Okay.
but this one doesn't. This one was the jersey we got for our nationals this year. So we have the West Coast sign because we're part of the West Coast region.
Okay.
And over here, the West Coast logo too.
Western.
And then,
Okay.
and the back is the West Coast and then my name and number. So that's just, it's what we got before, as I mentioned before, nationals this year. I don't have my player's jersey, but it's the same thing with logo and name and number.
All right. And we have another question from Sabina Toth. Thank you very much for your participation and asking questions. And she says, if you were offered the position to be part of the U.S. national team handball, would you take it?
Yes, I would. I would definitely take it. It's a big opportunity to be on a national team, and especially over here to really get the sport, going and to play competitively over here. You kind of have to be on the national team to go to big tournaments and play. So yes, I would probably take it.
All right. And as you show the jersey, and which was the number 21, which
Yeah.
is also in a Facebook picture of yours, is a number that you've always played with, and does it mean anything to you, like a special something with the number 21?
Actually, no. In Denmark, I always played with either number one because that was my number. That's what all goalkeepers play with, and my favorite players play with number one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to another club, my number became 20 because
Mm-hmm.
at that time my idol was number 20. So I took that number and always had number 20 after that. When I came over here, they already had jerseys and it was number 21 for the goalie. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was actually perfect because I was 1 and I was 20, so now I'm 21.
Okay. Understand. And you mentioned now your idols that you were playing in the number one and the number 20. Who are these idols? Who are these people that you were seeing as a reference to you?
As I mentioned before, Kasper Witt was number one always, and he's just the best goalie that's ever been in Denmark, and probably still is. He's getting older, but he's still really, really good, and he plays for my team back home actually, so that's really fun. Niklas Landin, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people know
Yeah.
too, is always number 20 or number one now on the national team, but he was always number 20.
Hmm.
So that's why I chose that number after that. And now Marcus Cleverley is number 20. So that's just the two numbers which they've always had.
Hmm. And one thing that I have asked goalkeepers is that they don't often use the glue in their hands, unlike the players in the line in which they use a lot of glue. So I have one cup in here in which you apply the glue, which is kind of sticky.
Yeah.
So then you apply in your hands, like in your fingers, and they stay pretty much like that. I'm not sure if I'm applying correctly. And yes, and they apply it in all hands, so it gets very sticky. So do you apply the glue in your hands before the game, or just in a few games? How do you use? How do you decide to use the glue?
I always use glue. I
Okay.
was being mocked a lot when I came here because they didn't use glue, so I got some glue for them to use because I cannot play without glue.
Hmm.
So every time we practice, everybody knows which ball is mine because it's the one with the most glue on. So
It's kind of like your signature.
yeah.
Hmm. So it's amazing because it really gets sticky, and once I get into the ball, I cannot let it fall for a long time, and it's gonna get very sticky. Okay, I'm just using this ball for example. So yes, in a lot of time it's gonna be very sticky. I'm gonna have problems letting this go in my hand, but it's okay. It's well, for the best of the handouts. And one thing that I've heard from players in England is that other teams were complaining because once you play with the glue, it sticks on the court, and sometimes it leaves marks and something that leaves the black marks so you can see them on court. So players like from futsal were complaining because of that. Did you have any problems with that in the USA once you were bringing the glue and the result of that in the court?
We always have problems with that. Like after tournaments, no matter where it is, we always have to clean the court afterwards because of
Hmm.
it. Um, because the courts over here are used for so many other purposes than handballs. So
Hmm.
we have to clean it every time, and it's no matter where it is.
Okay. And what do you use to clean the court? Do you have any special products?
Yes, we have. I do not remember what it's called, but it's something you can put on and then with paper or something you can get it off.
Mm-hmm.
Get it off your hands. You can use like body lotion or hairspray actually.
Body lotion and hand spray.
Yeah.
The tip for your viewers, if you have any problems to clean the glue, like I will have probably after this hangout, probably see if my sister has one, so I can borrow from her so I can get it out of my hand because it's going to be
Yeah.
very sticky. So thank you very much for your tip. So it's going to also be a very instructive hangout. So viewers, take note of that. Okay. So, and one country that I also know that is fairly strong in handball, which was the birthplace of handball, which is Germany. So, did you play against a German team, or with German players, and had an interesting interaction with them, which is like because you're Danish, they're German, so which is like the top of handball among the other countries. So, did you have any experience to play against German teams?
Every year with my team, we always went to Germany to play tournaments a couple of
Hmm.
times a year. Um, One of my big experience I tried to was playing the Berlin Handball Cup, and we
Hmm.
won that in 2012. And that was where we played against teams from all over Germany, so that was really fun. And over here, I got to experience playing with a lot of German people, so that's been really fun too, and get to know them and see their view on handball. Because obviously, we're two different countries and we have two different playing styles, but it's always fun to see when people come together how it turns out.
Hmm. So, as our viewers are watching at home, can you tell us which like websites or newspapers or maybe TV shows in which they're specialized in handball, in which you read and follow, so we can be more aware of where to find information on the handball leagues, both in the Denmark and USA?
In the USA, the USA has a newsletter they send out every month, I think. You can sign up on the USA Team Handball's website. So that's where I get my information from the US.
Hmm.
I don't get information from Europe, but I get from Denmark, which is on a link which is called um, I can't translate, but it's hotbot.dk. So
Okay.
it's only about Danish teams and plays.
All right. So it's something that it's becomes quite important because one thing that we over here keep complaining is that we always have empty arenas, mostly because people don't know the competition is taking place. First of all, who are the teams or who are the players? So that's when us journalists specialized in social networks try to get this information published as much as possible. So, which is something that we have established as our day-to-day mission, at least for myself. And this is why I created Canal Handball, just to help promoting this information, get it spread. So, one thing that I would like to ask you is during the practices, for example, you must experience different weathers, I think, from very hot weathers to very cold weathers. And does this affect in heating up for the game? And from your experience in Denmark, did you bring anything with you to share with players? Like when it's very cold, you must do this and this and that before the game.
No, normally in the gyms in Denmark, it's like a good temperature. You know, they either heat it up or cool it off depending on how the weather is outside.
Hmm.
So it's not a problem at all. Over here, there has been issues in our gym with the air conditioner not working, so it will become very, very hot because we're obviously in the desert. So, so we just have to drink a lot of water. But other than that, we don't do anything specific.
And one thing that I wanted to ask is like, do you have something, or like we say, some kind of group in Facebook in which you exchange information on the national leagues in USA? Do you have any pages in which we can access? Because all these pages, viewers, that we are talking about, we're going to post the links on the events that you use to watch these hangouts, so we can help promote the information, which is why Canal Handball was created. What are the main pages in US to spread information that you follow?
The main page handball, where all tournaments and all information is being posted, but also every state that has a handball team has their own page where people post about the tournaments too and about scores and stuff like that. So when you're here, I follow almost all states, all of their handball websites. So that way I just get as much information as possible.
And now you are about to return to Denmark, as far as I know, about in the next 26th. You are about to go back to Denmark, and I've heard you are also becoming an aunt now, that I believe your niece or your nephew was born.
My nephew, yeah.
So, how is it like, what are your preparation like to go back to Denmark? Are you planning to play again when you go back? To what are your plans now for this next few months?
I have a couple more practices with Phoenix Team Handball, and which I'm very happy about because that's obviously people I'm gonna miss very much. But when I go back, it's gonna be a little different. It's very competitive. So when I go back, I don't know how the team looks like in my city or in the city I played in before I came here. So I'll have to check it out and see if I even have a chance again. Because the players, you know, they are in different cities now, and you can never be sure how it really is before you see it, and if I have a chance of getting on a good team.
I'm quite confident that you will have chances because you're bringing not only medals but quite a good experience in US, because you also traveled to Central America as we were discussing, and you played and won a championship, and then you have quite a rich experience, like in lay out the tape, the court tape, and painting the goal. So something that you would definitely bring with you as soon as you go back to Denmark. So, but what is if you can share with us your best moment in the US, like your finest memory that you're going to bring with you when you go back to Denmark?
Handball-wise, or just in general?
In general.
It's been meeting all these amazing people I've met. I never imagined I would meet so many people from so many different countries, which handball have been a big part of. It's been amazing to meet all of these people, and they really made my stay so much better. And just having these connections help it, you know, in the future too, when I want to travel and meet these people again, hopefully sometime.
Hopefully, well. So now, my dear viewers, we are reading out in which we are to get to know our interviewee a little bit better. So I'm going to ask Camilla a few questions that are not necessarily related to handball, but something that, like some choices she would do, or some preferences that she has. So I have separated a few questions. Some of them were actually gotten from the Bernard Pivot questionnaire in the Actors Studio, so they cannot complain that I copied because I'm giving them the credit. And others I got from the the English football team. They were getting prepared for the World Cup. They were making questionnaires with the players. Some of the questions I also got from there. So you cannot sue me as well because I give you the credits. Okay? So Camila, what is your favorite word?
Favorite word? It's probably nice. I say that to a lot of things.
All right. And
I
what
think
is your least favorite word?
over here it's excuse me.
Probably because people say all the time.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Okay. Promise not to use it. And what job would you like to try?
I would like to try to become a police officer.
Okay. And what job would you not like to try under any circumstances?
Probably like the people that gather garbage or sort garbage.
Hmm. And what sound or noise do you like?
I like the sound of waterfall.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
I hate the sound of beeping stuff, beeping noises.
Okay. And tell us one word that would describe perfectly or almost perfectly the player Camila.
Uh, Hopefully fast.
Okay. And some people that say, I think you've heard the term in US, which is the guilty pleasure. Uh, if you have what is your favorite guilty pleasure?
Frozen yogurt.
Okay. What was the best advice you've ever received?
Um, just never give up.
Most important one. Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook. Definitely.
Ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup. I don't like mustard.
Shrek or donkey?
Donkey.
And there is something, this is a question from the Actor Studio, which I often like to ask. If if heaven exists, what would you like to hear from God when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You did it good.
All right. So, my friends, we have received today player Camilla Ørberg. She's playing for Phoenix Team Handball Club. Now she's going back to Denmark. Hopefully, she's going to have a great deal of success in handball. Hopefully, we're going to see her in the Danish national team, seeing her winning more and more gold medals, having more success, being a very inspiring person to young athletes. And hopefully in the near future, we're going to see her as a reference, probably as well as a successful coach, as a successful manager. And Camila, I want to make very clear that Canal Handball wishes the best for you in this new chapter of your career. We really hope that you're going to be very, very successful. So now I'd like to open for you to say your final considerations to our viewers and to thank everybody for watching.
Yeah, thank everybody for watching, and thank you so much, Canal Handball, for having me. It's been a real pleasure and sharing my story, and hopefully a lot of people can get something out of this and do what they love.
Yes. So guys, you heard the words. Never, ever give up, no matter how difficult the circumstances are. Never ever give up. Okay. So this is Canal Handball saying goodbye. We wish you all a very nice rest of the week, a very nice weekend, and we have a lot of handball for everybody else. So guys, good night.